So, how's it going, guys? Today, I'm going to be discussing one of the most important but underrated fundamentals in the golf swing that I see commonly when I see my students and also golfers in general, and that is posture. And specifically about posture is the position of the pelvis and the rib cage and how they orient together to help you to prepare to make the most efficient golf swing. And specifically, what I'm going to be referring to is the upper center of mass and the lower center of mass and how they line up. So I'm going to break this down to you guys and correlate different other movements that we use to help you to relate to it. So stay tuned, and I hope you get a good amount of information to take for your golf swing out of this video. I hate to admit this, that I was once in your shoes where I was scrolling on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok on the latest golf tip to help me improve my golf game. Did that work for me? Maybe for about a few days or a week, but it never helped me improve long term. So, what I learned and what you need to learn is that you need to know what your body can do physically and also what your most optimal golf swing is to help you improve your golf game. So, how does that come into picture with me? Well, I will help you to understand your most optimal golf swing using both a TPI physical assessment to see what you can do physically, along with Sportsbox AI technology to help you to understand what your body is currently doing, and then also tracking the progress of specific parameters that we focus on to help you to improve your golf game. Ready to take action to improve your golf game on a long-term basis? Comment down below the word assess and let's get started. So, as mentioned, when it comes to posture and how we set up in the golf swing, we have our upper center of mass and our lower center of mass. So, for reference, we're going to use the middle of our sternum for the upper center of mass and the middle of our belt buckle for the lower center of mass. And the typical pattern that I see is when setting up to a golf ball is that golfers, because we were taught to have a straight back in our butt back, is that we tend to see that the upper center is in front of the lower center. And the reason why this can be dangerous to not have the most efficient golf swing, but also even be prone to injury, is that we have gravity acting on us at all times. So in this case, if I'm setting up like this, right, I'm going to be prone to want to move towards the golf ball, but also fall on my face, right? And the thing is that your brain will not allow you to do that because we've always, within our years of living, responded to physics, responded to gravity. And we try to fight ourselves from being able to fall to the ground. So if I have my upper center of mass and my lower center of mass, where my upper is more forward, I'm already inclined to move this way. So in that case, I'm going to do something in order to counteract that coming through the ball. And we don't want any compensation. So the correct way in which you need to do this is making sure that the upper and lower center of mass, so the middle of my sternum and the middle of my belt buckle, are lined up. And so what I mean by that is instead of having it where I have straight posture, I want to have it where they're more lined up this way. And you may think, how am I supposed to get to the golf ball by having them lined up? Well, I'm going to show you. So when we set up here, right, let's say if I start in the typical posture that we think of with the upper center of mass more forward and the lower more back, right? What I want you to feel or do is I want you to tuck your belt buckle towards your belly button, right? And so what that's going to do is that's going to move my lower center mass more forward and bring my upper center mass back. So this way. And so as you see, now you can see the golf club lift off the ground. But however, what I'm going to do is move closer to the golf ball. And also I'm going to have my knees more inclined, more over my toes, right? So there's a relationship when it comes to these center masses. So if this one goes too far forward, the upper, my lower goes back, and vice versa. And You may think, why would I want to have my lower center of mass more forward? That's early extending. Well, the reason why is because now both of my center of masses are lined up now. So I want to have it instead where I incline my knees more forward, and then I have my upper back more rounded. So now, if anything, you'll feel like the upper center is further back. And so now, in the case when I go to the golf swing, now when I move down, now I'm not going to have a reason to want to not fall over because I'm already in this position. So now I can get down to the golf ball later in the swing. And so specifically, what we're doing is improving the tilt of the pelvis, right? And the rib cage. And there's a direct relationship with both of those. So if I have this called anterior pelvic tilt, where my hips are more back, my lower back is going to be excessively curved. So that locks my lower spine. And from there also as well, the position of my rib cage is where my chest is up. So my rib cage is now expanded. And again, you may think this is good posture, but from there, now you're going to respond by wanting to get these lined up later, which would be early extension. So instead, what I need you to feel is actually posterior tilt the pelvis. So if I took this club here, it's like I feel like I'm going to raise it up and forward this way. And then from there, now in response, I want my rib cage to be more compressed. So here. So then from there, now you'll feel your glutes more engaged, your core more activated. And then from here, now I have more freedom to move dynamically. And so when we think about that, I want to relate it to other movements such as a deadlift or a squat. So if I were to squat and I would be in this position, say I had the barbell on my back, my first move to squat, when I set up, I would not be in this position before I squat. Why is that? Because I'm already going to be moving towards that as I move down. So if I start here and then go even further, now I'm compromising my lower back. I'm at a risk to get injured. Instead, as we always hear, is keep your core tight and brace. That bracing comes from my rib cage being more down and compressed, and my pelvis being more posterior tilted. So then from here, now I will be doing this, and then I will move. And that's a safer route. Same thing with a deadlift. So if I'm here, if I'm about to deadlift, on my way up, I wouldn't be trying to do this right here, where I put some more anterior tilt on my pelvis and my chest is up at this phase. Rather, I would be posterior tilting, so engaging my glutes, and then my rib cage will be compressed here, even at the top. So my rib cage is down here at the top, while my lower center is more forward because of that posterior tilt. Now my core is engaged and my glutes are activated. So in the same sense, two analogies that I like to relate to is one, feeling as if you take slack out of the bar in a deadlift. So if I'm here, before I even start to bring this up, we try to take the slack out of the bar to help us to get this bar up. And I wouldn't take the slack out of the bar by moving more forward this way, right? I wouldn't do that. Rather, I would take the slack out by moving my upper center back as I move that lower center forward. So this way. This is what we're feeling for our posture. And what I feel here is that my glutes are more engaged here, and then my core is more activated. So if I were to set up to a golf ball, rather than me having it where my hips are more back this way and my rib cage is more expanded, I'm going to feel as if I get my knees more over my toes. So I'm taking that slack out of the bar. So now my lower center moves more forward and up, while my upper center moves more back. So now I'm in this position. And so as well, another thing that I want you to relate to as an analogy is, I'm going to call it plugging in. So plugging in your lower center and your upper center. The typical posture when we set up to a golf ball, let me put this down here, is my lower center and my upper center are separated. So as you can see from my rib cage where my sternum is to down to my pelvis, that they're separated. I want to plug them in. I plug them in by lifting the pelvis up so that moves it closer and then getting my rib cage down. Now I'm ready where both of my center masses lined up, and now I'm in a position to move dynamically off the golf ball without any compensation. So if I were to set up here, so let's say if I'm in that typical posture, I want to plug in, right? Or take the slack out of the bar. Here, right there. That's the position that we want to be in. Now, because my glutes are more engaged, and then also now my thoracic spine is more, my rib cage is more compressed, because the first move off of the golf ball to be able to rotate is actually my rib cage is going to be expanding, right? Here. And so similarly with the lower center mass, if I'm already in an expanded state and then I try to expand even more, now I'm at a risk for injury. There's always an equilibrium. Before I get into one position, I need to set up in the opposite position. So again, here, they're going to be more lined up. My rib cage is more inclined down. And then now from there, then I'm able to expand as I move back this way. So I hope you can take some good information out of that video and really focus on getting your setup right with this posture, with your tilts and those center masses to help you to improve your golf game and have a more consistent golf swing. I hope you have a wonderful day.